USS Boston Shipmates Reunion. My name is Dan Schiebel, and this evening I am honored and humbled to be your Master of Ceremony. Now, following revered naval tradition, we will pipe our senior officers aboard. Commander Ted Stephanie, escorted by Marie Seitz. Please stand. Commander William J. Anderson, escorted by Nancy Berry.
You just leave me with this.
Captain Douglas Peck, escorted by Kathy Peck.
Gary, get back here. Gary, where do they go? Come on.
My fault. My fault. Hire me, please.
And it was practice.
Yeah, you guys were supposed to. I'm sorry. My fault.
It was very slow.
Captain Douglas Peck, escorted by Kathy Peck. Captain Louis Cavalieri, escorted by Denise Cavalieri. Brigadier General Joseph Marsiglia, escorted by Pat Probst.
Okay, parade, rest.
Patriotism is not a short and frenzied outburst of emotion, but the tranquil and steady dedication of a lifetime. Please remain standing for the presentation of colors by the USS Boston CHE-1 Color Guard. Color Guard, parade the colors.
Okay, Mike. Okay, forward, march. Left, 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 left. Your left. Color guard, right turn, turn. Color guard, forward, march. Left, your left, 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 left.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Color guard, post the colors.
Color guard, post the colors.
But when I talk about chaplains, 4 chaplains on a ship, everybody always thinks there's a punchline, that there's some joke to it, because one was Catholic, one was a Jewish rabbi, and 2 were Protestant. Well, the punchline is this, that they gave up their life jackets in an act of selfless service. And I encourage all of you, if you don't visit the chapel this weekend, I encourage all of you to at least Google it online and you'll see a remarkable story. But I know that many of you are shipmates from many different eras of the life of USS Boston, both as a cruiser and as a submarine. So I'm going to share a story with you that you might find humorous, at least I do. And this is about Halley's Comet. Now everybody knows Halley's Comet only appears every 76 years, right? Right, okay. So, I'm going to go over with you what happens when an order is given from the captain down the chain of command to the division chief. And it goes like this. The captain issued the following directive to his executive officer. Tomorrow evening at approximately 2000, Halley's Comet will be visible in the area, an event which occurs only once every 76 years. Have the men fall out on the main deck in their dungarees. Remember those dungarees? Yes. And I will explain this rare phenomenon to them in case of rain. We will not be able to see anything. So assemble the main deck, the men in the mess deck, and I will show them a film of this phenomenon. So the executive officer takes that, and he goes to the division officer. By order of the captain, tomorrow at 2000, Halley's Comet will appear above the main deck. If it rains, fall the men out in dungarees, then march them to the mess deck, where the rare phenomenon will take place, something which occurs only every 76 years. Now the division officer goes to his ensign. By order of the captain, in dungarees at 2000 tomorrow evening, the phenomenal Halley's Comet will appear on the mess deck. In case of rain, in the main deck area, the captain will give another order, one which occurs every 76 years. So now the ensign goes to the leading chief. Tomorrow at 2000, the captain will appear in the mess deck with Halley's Comet, something which occurs every 76 years. If it rains, the captain will order the comet into the main deck area. And finally, the leading chief to his division. When it rains tomorrow at 2000, the phenomenal 76-year-old Admiral Haley, accompanied by the captain, will drive his comet through the main deck area in his dungarees. And it actually happens like that sometimes. So I'm delighted to be here tonight with all of you, and because we now just had a jovial moment, now let's take a solemn moment in prayer and offer up this great gathering. Eternal Father, strong to save, by whose eternal love our lives are blessed, and through whose abiding care we are able to gather together this day to celebrate the reunion of the crew of the USS Boston. We ask your blessing upon these sailors and Marines here present, and upon those who could not be with us, all who serve their country with honor and devotion. We ask that you preserve and protect and defend these shipmates, your shipmates, as well as those who supported and stood with them in the accomplishment of the mission they set out to do in days past. We also ask your blessing upon this nation, its duly elected and appointed leaders, and all of its citizens. May they be guided by your wisdom and your teachings as they endeavor to keep the beacon of freedom shining brightly for those whose lives have not yet been touched by it. We ask that you bless and protect all those men and women who currently stand the watch that we gave them, serving this great nation and standing in harm's way. May they be granted safe passage when they reach that point at which they may return home to their loved ones. We ask that you bless the families and loved ones of those who serve so far away and so far from home. Give them the strength and courage to maintain the homes to which those who serve will return. And may those who have given up their last full measure of their life and devotion to this great country, including those departed shipmates of the USS Boston, may they be granted the everlasting peace And we ask all of this in your most holy name. Amen. Bon appetit.
If you would, please, everyone raise your toast glasses on the table. And I would like to toast the belated 65th anniversary of the USS Boston CAG-1. Hear, hear. Now please enjoy your meal. Make sure your tickets are out on the table to be collected by the servers. Thank you. The parade and presentation of colors tonight was conducted by the inaugural USS Boston Shipmates Color Guard. They included Michael Brady, Dennis Lavernier, Richard Sandone, and Thomas Berry. Our side boys tonight were Robert May, Joseph Lugenland, Robert Pagnato, Dominique Labruzzo, Senior Chief Gary Lida, John Hunter, Francis Holm, and Ina Codell. At the head table this evening we have, to my right, Barry Probst, our president, Barry's wife, Pat Probst, the reunion chairman, Master Sergeant Rachel Kay, guest of our keynote speaker, our keynote speaker, Brigadier General Joseph A. Masiglia, my bride, the lovely Patty Schiebel, our captain's wife, Denise Cavalier, and conducting our invocation this year was Captain Louis Cavalieri, United States Navy retired. Captain Cavalieri received his commission from Officers Candidate School in Newport, Rhode Island in December of 1971. He reported aboard the USS Severn, AO-61, where he served as Communication Officer and Operations Officer, deploying to the 6th Fleet in the Mediterranean in 1973. From July of 74 to early 1976, he served as an instructor in naval science at the Staff Corps Indoctrination School, receiving a commendation for his service during a visit of the Royal Yacht Britannia to Newport Naval Station as part of the 1976 U.S. Bicentennial celebration. In 1976, he served as Operation Officer on the USS Dias DD-880, and upon completion of Destroyer School in 1977, he joined the USS Glover FF-1098, serving 2 years as Chief Engineer. Those nights. Glover deployed to the Middle East in 1978 at a time when Mid-East force consisted of just 3 ships. How times have changed. In June of 1979, he resigned his active commission to take up a civilian position with the Keystone Shipping Company here in Philadelphia. In 1989, he was transferred to Commander, Military Sea Lift Command, Atlantic, and was recalled to active duty for 9 months for Operation Desert Storm. For his efforts in directing convoys, loading operations, and logistics from Atlantic to Gulf Coast ports, he was awarded the Navy Meritorious Service Medal. Upon completion of Operation Desert Storm, Captain Cavalieri was assigned 2 shoreside commands and then retired in 1995 after 25 years of service. He also recently retired as General Manager for Contracts for Keystone Shipping, where he developed a public vessel franchise that totals 15 vessels, the largest single holding within the Keystone Group. Captain Cavalieri is the chairman of the board of the Chapel of 4 Chaplains in the Navy Yard here in Philadelphia. He holds a BA degree from St. John's University and an MBA from Rutgers. He serves on the board of the Philadelphia Maritime Academy Chapter School and the Millennium Development Goals Task Force of the Diocese of New Jersey for ending worldwide poverty, and he is currently involved with the Episcopal Church Center in New York for the care of trafficked women and children, and serves on the New Jersey Coalition Against Human Trafficking. He has been married to Denise since 1975, and they have 2 sons and are blessed with 3 grandchildren, Dominic 7, Isabel 4, and Riley 17 months old. Captain Louis Cavalieri.
I want to say that you guys are very kind. You know, it's dangerous to give a line officer, that's me, a microphone when everybody thinks that I'm a chaplain. But I told him that I'm not a chaplain, because if I was, and he said that, I said that everybody would line up and I have to hear confessions tonight, but I didn't want to do that. But you guys are it's very special to be at ship's reunions. We have a lot of ship reunions coming to Philadelphia every year. I have to say that USS Boston is probably the biggest, and I know this is not the biggest group that you have, but we have lots of reunions. The ships that I work on, we go to some of the reunions, not all of them. They're just hard to get to. But you have a very, very good group here, and you have a good critical mass to do a lot of good work. And our job at the Chapel for Chaplains is to work with veterans in need. And I think that that's a care of everybody in this room. So I want to thank you all for your service. You guys are a great group, and please come back and visit us again. Thank you.
This reunion does not take place through the efforts of just 1 or 2 people. It takes a dedicated team to run the organization, its projects, and events. And at times, we are fortunate to have shipmates step up to provide much needed extra help. In alphabetical order, I would like to introduce your team. And if you would please stand and remain standing as I introduce you. And I'll apologize in advance if I leave anybody out, and if I do, please stand and be recognized. Michael Brady, James and Judy Harlan, Jerry and Esther Kurt, Dennis LeBernier, Nancy LeBernier, Robert and Lorraine Paris, Charlie Perez, Ann Hickey, Barry and Pat Probst, Fred and Randa Probst, Bill and Marie Seitz, Richard and Mary Sandone, Dan and Marietta Smith, and Bill and Linda Ulock, and Jim Hammond, and Helene Hammond. That's your team that put this together. This is the committee members that make this reunion possible. There is no way one person can do what it takes to be as successful as we are. Each year we correspond with selected VIPs, informing them of our impending reunion. This year we have responses from Sue, the governor of Pennsylvania, and if I may read his address to you. Greetings. It is my pleasure to welcome everyone gathered for the reunion of the USS Boston shipmates. Since this nation's infancy, the United States Navy has served to protect our country, bring security to the American people, and deter threats around the globe. From the American Revolution to more modern-day conflicts, the USS Boston serves as a constant reminder of the individuals who have fought for our nation's prosperity. The lives of countless individuals have been impacted, and the foundations of liberty, justice, and equality have been ensured for generations to come due to the service of the men and women on USS Boston. As governor, and on behalf of all the citizens of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, I am honored to congratulate the USS Boston shipmates on their 34th reunion. Tom Wolf, Governor. and from our Secretary of the Navy. Greetings to the USS Boston shipmates. On behalf of the Department of the Navy, I am honored to send my personal greetings and heartfelt appreciation to the crew members of the USS Boston, your families and friends as you unite to celebrate the rich history of naval ships named Boston. USS Boston and her proud legacy represent the finest qualities of our naval heritage, and those who sail represent the best of our Navy. From the first USS Boston, a gondola built in 1776 manned by a crew of 45, to the USS Boston SSN 703, the seventh and last vessel bearing the Boston name, each served the same commitment as the ships that have followed, to serve and meet the challenges of our Navy and nation with pride and distinction. As you gather to recall your days at sea and remember your shipmates, you can justifiably be proud of your service to a very grateful nation. Your courage, dedication, and sacrifice serve as testament to the strength of our Navy and Marine Corps. You have set the example for those who now stand the watch and for those who will serve our nation in the future. Please accept my very best wishes for a memorable reunion. Sincerely, Thomas W. Parker. It is now my pleasure to introduce our keynote speakers. Brigadier General Joseph A. Marsiglia assumed command of the Medical Readiness and Training Command on September 12, 2020. A native of Grand Rapids, Michigan, he began his military career as an enlisted soldier in 1981, attending basic training in Fort Dix, New Jersey, and advanced individual basic training in Fort Sam Houston, Texas. After serving as an enlisted soldier for 6 years, he received a direct commission as a Medical Service Corps officer in 1987. The general has commanded at the detachment, company, battalion, and brigade level, and has served in units in Michigan, Illinois, Tennessee, Minnesota, Georgia, Florida, and Washington, D.C. He is deployed in multiple leadership positions to include Chief of Operations for Task Force Medical East Afghanistan in 2009, Deputy Commander for Task Force Medical Falcon in Kosovo in 2006, and Executive Officer for the 801st Combat Support Hospital in Kuwait and Iraq in 2003. He is a graduate of the Grand Valley State University in Allendale, Michigan, where he earned a Bachelor of Science degree in Criminal Justice. He is a graduate of the Army Medical Department Officer Basic and Advanced Courses in San Antonio, Texas, Combined Armed Services Staff School in Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, and the Army Command and General Staff Officers Intermediate Level Education course. He is also a distinguished graduate of the U.S. Army War College, where he earned a master's degree in strategic studies. His military awards include the Bronze Star with Oak Leaf Cluster, Meritorious Service Medal with 2 Oak Leaf Clusters, the Kosovo, Iraq, and Afghanistan Campaign Medals, the Army Staff Identification Badge, and the Order of Military Medical Merit. In his civilian capacity, he retired as a police officer with 27 years of service. He and his wife, Chris, reside in Gaylord, Michigan, and have 3 children, Brittany, Joseph, and Alyssa. It is my pleasure to introduce Brigadier General Marsiglia, the son of Anthony Marsiglia, our 1960 to 62 Boston shipmate.
I'd like to be here tonight. It's an extreme honor for me and my brothers to be here. So before I get started with my few words that I have this evening, I understand we have 2 World War II veterans in the audience tonight. Are they still here? Can they raise their hand for me? The World War II vets, are they here? Can you hear me? Okay, got one back there. No, okay. Keep your hands up.
birthday was yesterday.
Hey, sir.
Yesterday.
I want to thank you for your service and give you one of my command coins. I appreciate everything you did for our country. All right? Thank you, sure. All right, thank you. Where's our other one?
Yes, sir.
I want to present you one of my command coins. Thank you so much for your service. I appreciate everything you did for our country. Okay, real quick, I also want to present one of my coins to Barry, who has been patient with me and all my questions about this event and getting me here tonight. I really appreciate it. Sir, thank you so much. And, finally, I want to recognize Master Sergeant Promotable, soon to be Sergeant Major K, who's been a battle buddy of mine. We were supposed to go to Afghanistan together, but I got pulled off that mission because they promoted me. So I want to present her with one of my command coins for being a great battle buddy, one of the finest NCOs in the United States Army. All right. So I got to tell you, really incredible honor for me to be speaking with you tonight. One of the things I was struck by as I was going through your displays yesterday, looking at all those photographs of members of the USS Boston throughout history, they're all kids. You know, and I look around and you've matured a little. And I'm right there with you, because I can think back when I was 18, first went in the Army, so it's a young person's game, and I really appreciate your service. So I also want to thank my brothers, Tony and Morris, if you'd stand up real quick off the back there. So they came over there. I got to tell you, we're brothers, right? So 10 and a half hours in the car, I was a little concerned how that was going to go, but obviously it turned out all right. So with that, I want to talk to you a little bit about my father, Tony Marsiglia, who served on the Boston in the early 1960s. And he was aboard the USS Boston when it participated in the blockade of Cuba in October of 1962. A lot of Americans don't realize just how close we came to a nuclear war with the Soviet Union during that time period. And the U.S. Navy and the USS Boston, through a show of grit, strength, and determination, were a big part of keeping the peace during that crisis. I was growing up as a kid in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I was always proud of the fact that my dad was a Navy guy. I remember he kept his old sea bag down in the basement with all of his uniforms in it. And he had that down for years, and I can remember rummaging through it often, and I was probably responsible for losing some of that stuff, I'm sure. But I really took a lot of pride in that. And when I was a kid, I used to build models of all kinds when I was a kid. And I remember building a model of the USS Boston, not like the one that was on display, believe me, that was an incredible work of art. But I remember my dad explaining to me in great detail how the Boston was first guided missile cruiser in the Navy. And, you know, I'm not so sure if my dad was probably has a ton of fond memories of being in the Navy, but I could tell he was proud of the fact that he served on that ship. So that ship meant something to him. The city of Boston meant a lot to him. So tonight I want to spend a few minutes talking with you about some of the leadership lessons I took away, and I think the reason I'm standing here tonight as a general officer has a lot to do with who my dad was and some of the things he taught me when I was a kid growing up. Now, I don't know if he learned all of this stuff in the Navy, but I can guarantee you he probably learned a lot of it in the Navy, because the Navy and the service in general teaches young men and women a lot of things. So the first one that he taught me was never give up. No matter whatever the odds, you never back down and you never give up. My dad was not a quitter. When I was in 7th or 8th grade, I was a little bit of a cocky kid. And I told my dad I could beat him in a run. And so we were at his parents' house, which was about 2.5 hour trot through the woods to my house, and where we lived. You gotta understand, my dad was a golfer, he was not a runner, so I thought I was gonna smoke him. Needless to say, my dad won. Not by much, but he won. And I could tell as we were getting close to our house, looking over at him, his grit and determination, because he was not liking this moment at all, that he didn't quit. And I was a lesson learned. So the next thing he taught me, and one of the other things he taught me, was be a person of integrity. My dad often said, once you lose your integrity, you play hell getting it back. Never lie. Always take responsibility and own up for your mistakes. And the Lord knows I made a lot of them. The bottom line is that character matters. And I use this leadership trait a lot. Because in my role, I can teach people to be competent in what they do, in their job, but I can't teach character and integrity. You either got that or you don't. My dad really hammered that home with us. Don't be afraid to fail. My dad was all about giving 100%. But he also knew that we could not always win. And I remember him telling me that in sports, I'm a sports guy, you always want to play with people that are better than you. And you got to understand that losing is part of life. He says if you want to be a winner, you got to lose, and you got to learn to get better because of it. And you don't get better by playing people that you can beat all the time. So play those that are better. I learned that leaders provide a sense of security in the midst of uncertainty from my father. So my dad was the rock who always stood firm when there was turbulent times or difficult roads. He was a man of few words, and for the most part, my brothers will disagree with me, he was a pretty calm guy, but he did have a temper. But his example and wisdom allowed me the strength to rise above the trivial and to focus on things that really matter. I learned that from my dad. My dad taught me the meaning of talking less and working more. And for me personally, this is probably one of the most important things I learned from my father, and one of the things I've struggled with. The part of being a great listener. My dad always put a focus on you want to be able to listen and hear what people are telling you. And I've always struggled with that. I can talk over it. And I learned that one of the ways I can deal with this on a personal level is I have a little book that I carry with me everywhere that I write notes down on because I'm getting old and I can't remember anything. So I have to write stuff down. And if you open my book, and I've done this for many years now, the big block letters on the front cover of that book is the word listen. And I learned that we need to be committed to our purpose, not worry about visibility, power, or money. And I also learned, and I'm still learning, that you need to recognize our blind spots, and we have to be conscious of them. And in other words, the bottom line to all of this, knowing that I was a lousy listener and talked too much helped me to talk less and listen more. And I really have to thank my dad for those words of wisdom. Another important thing was he taught me how to be a follower and to be a teammate. For me, this has evolved into understanding that in order to be an effective leader, we must understand and practice followership. So in other words, if I need to lead, I've got to learn to follow. My dad taught me that. Even when it's a difficult thing to do, and believe me, in the Army, it can be pretty complex. And that being a good teammate means that we have to respect and work with our teammates, even if we see things differently. That's another trait my dad taught me. My dad, he didn't care what we did as far as a profession. I can remember oftentimes, kid, I don't care what you do, but you better love your job, and you better do what you love. In leadership, we must love our work. We must take our role seriously and be passionate about what we do. The lesson from my dad was love what you do and give it your all, no matter what it is you choose to do. I don't think my dad would have cared if I decided I wanted to go out and shovel horse manure for the rest of my life. As long as I gave it 100% and loved it, he was supportive. These are just a couple of examples of what I learned from my dad. And now that I've sort of turned into my dad my age, I see the things he taught me through a much different lens than I did in my teens as he was passing these words on to me. And I know my dad learned a lot of this during his stint in the Navy, serving on the USS Boston. And I know this because I have learned many of these lessons myself, serving my years in the Army. So we lost my dad after he battled lung cancer back in 2008. And not a day goes by that I don't think about him. So he continues to be my inspiration, and he's my hero. He was one of you. He was a USS Boston shipman. And much of what he taught me, he learned from sailors like you. So thanks to all of you who served this great nation on the great ships named Boston. And again, I want to thank all of you for allowing me to be here tonight and spend some time with you. Honestly, this is one of the highlights of my Army career right now, is to be here with all of you, to have been here yesterday, and to see the history and traditions of the Navy and the USS Bostons. It's truly been an honor. And in closing, I've got only one thing to say, and that's go Army, eat Navy.
That will be followed by Go Navy, Eat Army. Thank you, General. Thank you very much. The very first person who signed up this year for the reunion was James Southwick, 1967 to 69, and James sent in his reservation within minutes of receiving his newsletter. So thanks, James, for being so prompt. There you go. Thank you so much. The 50-25-25 drawing is a simple and effective way to raise capital, working capital, for the USS Boston Memorial. 2 winners each will go home tonight with a quarter of the monies collected through your 50-25-25 ticket sales, and the USS Boston Memorial projects receive monies for maintenance and improvements. I would like to ask Denise to assist me in the drawing. The amounts tonight are worth $275 apiece. Okay, red ticket. It's a white ticket. The first one, 234-2066.
As soon as you said 2, I said, wrong one.
234-2066.
I'm close. 395-262.
Nancy McCurdy. Come on up.
Well, that time you give it to me.
If you're not here within 60 seconds, it goes to me. The other ticket would be 234-2454.
Someone to that.
And she gave the money back to the association. Ticket number 234-2454.
Wait while I go look.
Hey.
Yeah. Glad I didn't. I was keep my money.
And that is Greg Rapp. Thank you very much. And he also gave back some of the money. Good. Thank you, guys. USS Boston Shipmates Reunion is considered to be a highly successful organization by many outsiders. There are a lot of reasons for that, some of which have to do with over 234 years of Boston history, and some of which have to do with individual personalities and efforts. We are a diverse community. Diverse in the fact that we are part World War II crew, Cold War and peacetime crews, Vietnam conflict crews, Middle East conflict era, cruiser sailors and sub-sailors, all with a common bond. We are always working on a future reunion and beyond, and working on the committee is very rewarding, knowing that we are preserving the history of over 2 centuries of Boston patriotic service and contributing to what hotels say is one of the most successful, smooth-running, proactive reunions they've ever worked with. Don't feel that you have to live in the New England area to help out. We have members contributing from their homes in New York, Michigan, Indiana, Pennsylvania, Delaware, and Florida. With a telephone and the internet, you can all set out and help out. And if you would like to contribute to these efforts, by all means, get in contact with Barry Probst or anyone on the committee after the banquet. And do we need help? Yes, we do. It's been a very tough year, 2 years, for all of us and all of you. And our committee has suffered as we are getting older and a lot of the parts are starting to wear out. There are 199 people here this weekend from 26 states, including 99 shipmates. There are 2 World War II shipmates being here, represented here tonight. And again, I'm going to ask Ivan Bassett, 1943 to 1946, and Ken Bray, 1943 to 1945. Would you please stand, and we will thank you for being part of the greatest generation. And if you weren't here last night, we got to celebrate Ken's 96th birthday with a song. 7 shipmates are here from the SSN 703, and we cannot express enough how pleased we are to have so many of you here from the boat. As this is a natural progression. At the 1987 reunion, there were nearly equal numbers of World War II and guided missile cruiser sailors, and only 1 sub-sailor. So as the sub-crew ages, more of you are attending the reunions. Many of you are approaching the age we were in 1987, which was our first reunion. Would you please stand? First-timers. We have 11 shipmates here tonight for their first reunion. Would you please stand? And one of them is Ken Bray. And we hope to see you all again next year. And remember, we were all first-timers at one time. 34 shipmates here tonight have been to 10 or more Boston reunions. 14 have been to more than 20 or more reunions. And there are 3 of us here tonight that's been to more than 30 reunions. Would you please stand? We are truly blessed with 4 widows here tonight continuing to represent their husbands by their attendance. Brenda Jones, widow of Malcolm Jones, 1966 to 69. Nancy LaFernier, widow of Roy LaFernier, 1966 to 68. Barbara Murphy, widow of Albert Murphy, 1965 to 1968. And Cindy Stancliffe, wife of Paul Stancliffe, 1966 to 1967. Would you please stand and we can thank you for your sacrifice. We have a four-way tie this year with the divisions with the highest attendance. They were E, F, OI, and R division, each with 8 attendees. Florida, Massachusetts, and New York are the 3 states with the highest representation with 11 attendees each. The shipmates traveling the furthest was Alfred Shermer, 1955 to 1957 from Aurora, California. Wow. 2,827 miles. Yeah. The shipmate who traveled the shortest distance is Stuart Speck, 1965 to 1968 from Ardmore, Pennsylvania, 9.5 miles away. But also in the running for closest was Robert Giantonio from Marion, Pennsylvania, 11 miles from here. So, thank you both. We have 2,971 shipmates in our membership roster, and I'll point out that this is the lowest in 19 years. We are aging. Of those, 350 served aboard the CA-69 between 42 and 47. 1,987 served aboard the CA-G1 and the CA-69 between 55 and 70. And 923 served aboard the SSN-703. We have members in 50 states, 2 Canadian provinces, Puerto Rico, France, Thailand, England, and Tasmania. We have 446 life members on the roster. What I would like to do now is I would like every veteran, whether you're active or retired duty, to please stand. And I mean every veteran in the room. Hold on. A veteran, whether active duty or retired, is someone who, at one point in his life or her life, wrote a blank check, made payable to the United States of America for an amount of up to and including their life. I want to thank all of you for your service. I would now like to ask Barry Probst to please come forward for a special presentation.
Thank you. Thank you, Dan. Would King Hill come forward, please? And Ivan Bassett. Throughout our lives, we do things that we think are just normal things to do. However, people look at it a little differently, as do we, and we try to honor some of our shipmates that actually do those things. Ivan Bassett, USS Boston, 1942 to 1944, Seaman First Class. Ivan joined the Navy at age 17. At basic training in Newport, Rhode Island, he was sent to signal school, but was unable to pass as he could not learn to decipher a message sent in Morse code by flashing signal wings. Ivan was assigned to a brand new boss. He was aboard when she was commissioned, making him a plank owner of the CA-69. Ivan was assigned first to the butcher shop, but still showed promise as a signalman and was recruited for that duty. One day he was on duty on a bridge when a flashing light signal came in. Ivan had just returned from a few hours of shore leave on a nearby island, where he enjoyed a swim and a few warm beers. Now back on the ship, he had to act and decoded the message instantly, without error. He never had trouble with flashing lights again. Ivan spent his entire Navy career aboard the Boston. The Boston was involved in several attacks. Ivan said the 4th of July in 1944 he particularly remembers. After participating in bombardment missions for several weeks prior, the Boston joined a long line of powerful ships that blasted an island off at the Iwo Jima, trying to rout enemy from the tunnels while trying not to hit Marines who had landed. Ivan said that was the 4th of July parade of ships. Ivan returned home to his home in Chatham, Mass, where he served for the town for 32 years. Although best known as Chatham's first permanent firefighter and deputy fire chief, Ivan also served as the first aid instructor, school custodian, and a highway department worker. In 2019, Ivan was the Grand Marshal of the 4th of July parade in his hometown of Chatham, Massachusetts. As a World War II veteran and a community servant, Ivan Bassett is most deserving for this quilt of valor. Ivan Bassett, thank you. USS Boston, 1957-1959, FT3. Mike Brady was an FT3 on Boston from 57 to 59. Mike was aboard when the remains of the three unknowns were highlined to the USS Canberra. After the Navy, Mike worked for AT&T, where they invented putting data on glass filaments. Mike was employed at AT&T when he joined the USS Boston Shipmates Committee. As an employee of AT&T, he had access to many phone books. Mike helped to track down many USS Boston shipmates via the phone books. Mike was part of the team that was instrumental in the acquisition and restoration of the ship's bell that is now on display in Charlestown Naval Shipyard. I don't mind telling you that's at the end of Pier 1 and the second most photographed item in Charleston. Mike was also instrumental in having a memorial tree dedicated to all USS Bostons that served aboard the USS Boston, to all shipmates that served aboard the USS Boston, placed at Arlington National Cemetery. Mike always had his ear to the ground, listening for projects that would gain Boston recognition. Mike also had other skills. Mike has repaired over 7,000 veteran grave markers in Pennsylvania over the years. These markers, tombstones, are veterans dating back to the French and Indian War up to present day. The mayor of Gerardville, Pennsylvania somehow learned of Mike's talent and personally contacted Mike. When the mayor asked Mike if he would be willing to work on placement of a tombstone for a Medal of Honor winner, Mike naturally said, "Sure, we can do that." Mike says a Boston sailor never says no to a Medal of Honor winner. For all that Mike has done and continues to do to honor our veterans, he is very deserving recipient of this honor. Michael Brady.
Mr. Diane.
Dan Schiebel. Or Dan Schiebel, USS Boston, 1964 to 1969. Dan Schiebel, our USS Boston Shipmates Committee member, Vice President, and Master of Ceremonies, served in the U.S. Navy from 1964 to 1969, and served aboard the USS Boston from 65 to 69. He has been to the Mediterranean, Puerto Rico, 2 tours of Vietnam. He is a loving husband, father, and grandfather. Dan has been to 31 reunions as of this year. Not only is Dan a veteran of the United States Navy and the Vietnam War, but he is a true patriot. In his off time for over 10 years on Veterans Day, he has showed up at his daughter's high school, usually with his Boston shipmate Don Smith in tow. There, on those days, more than 1,800 people stopped by to speak to him and Dan. He is also the proud grandparent of a West Point graduate. A granddaughter, and he has attended many separate competitions in Army versus Navy games. Go Navy! He is also an award-winning youth hockey coach in Indiana. And if that wasn't enough, he is an on-flight Northeastern Indiana volunteer and has volunteered for several World War II honor flights escorting our World War II veterans to the World War II Memorial in Washington, D.C. 4 as a guardian, 3 as a volunteer, and 9 as a pre-flight breakfast volunteer, setting up breakfast and lunch. And he is also a Veterans Day volunteer at the Texas Roadhouse. For everything that he has done for the youth of Indiana, the World War II veterans, and the USS Boston Shipmates over the past 30 years, I cannot think of anyone more deserving of this honor. Thank you.
Barry, why don't you go down front? Go on, Barry. Barry Probst, USS Boston, 1967 to 1970. Barry served in the Navy from 1965 until 1974. He's very proud of his Navy career, and I know this for a fact. I spent some time talking with him last night, and the pride oozed from him as he told me of his service in the Navy. Barry served 2 tours of duty in Vietnam between 1967 and 69, both on the USS Boston. For the past 33 years, Barry has dedicated his spare time to the USS Boston Shipmates and its mission to preserve naval history. This is his 35th USS Boston Reunion. In 1988, Barry attended his first USS Boston reunion with his wife, Pat. After this reunion experience, Barry decided he wanted to be a part of it. He attended the annual meeting in September and has never looked back. Since becoming a member of the USS Boston Committee, Barry has served as the Vice President, Treasurer, Reunion Chairman, and is currently the President, Secretary of this organization. As Secretary, Barry has been involved with researching veteran benefits, lost shipmates, and locating information for families and others seeking information about the Boston and the men that served aboard. Barry also served aboard the USS Springfield, and I'm going to probably butcher this, Barry, in Villefranche, France, 1965 to 67. Villefranche, served as home port. I don't speak French, apologize. Served as the home port to the flagship of the 6th Fleet for over 40 years. Because of this service, Barry is involved with the Americans, Six Float, de Lumiere, Semur, and their mission is to spread the word on an educational endeavor to inform others of the partnership of the United States and French navies have had since the 1800s. Barry also serves as president for the United States branch of this organization, and thank goodness, Pat, you didn't write it down again. A little known fact, the USS Boston served as the flagship of the 6th Fleet in Crowne, for 39 days in October 1962. You know, my dad was on the ship then, Barry. Yeah. So, now retired, Barry plans to continue his work with both groups to preserve Navy history. Barry, thanks for everything you've done for your country.
The Quilts of Valor Foundation is a group of thousands of volunteer quilters from all across America. It was founded in 2003 by Catherine Roberts, who was a Blue Star mom. Our mission is to honor our service members and veterans who have been touched by war with comforting and healing quilts of valor. Today, the Quilts of Valor Foundation has awarded over 300,000 quilts. And our group, which is Ridgedale Patriots, we've been organized for 3 years. We have personally presented 52 of these quilts. Mr. Bray received, our other World War II veteran, received his quilt last year at your 95th birthday, I believe. It is my privilege and honor to award Ivan, Michael, Dan, and Barry your own Quilt of Valor on behalf of the Quilts of Valor Foundation. A quilt is made of 3 layers. Each layer has its own special meaning. The top, with its many colors, have shapes and fabrics, represent the communities that many individuals that we are. The batting, which is the filler, is the center of the quilt, its warmth. It represents our hope that this quilt will bring warmth and comfort and peace and healing to you. The backing is the strength that supports the other layers. It represents the strength of you, the support of your family, our community, and our nation. Each stitch that holds the layers together represent love, gratitude, and sometimes tears from the maker. Each quilt brings a 3-part message. First, we honor you for your service. We honor you for leaving all you hold dear and to stand in harm's way in a time of crisis, protecting us from the effects of war. Next, our quilters know that freedom is really not free. The cost of our freedom is the dedication of lives of men like you. And this quilt is meant to say thank you for your service. And finally, this quilt is meant to offer comfort to you and to remind you that although your family and friends cannot be with you at all times, you are forever in our thoughts and prayers. For those that have never seen the combat or never been in a war zone, such experiences are beyond our capacity to comprehend. But we believe that these quilts of valor have the ability to offer comfort and warmth. We hope when you have dark experiences in your life or need the warmth of a grateful hug, that you will wrap yourself around your quilt so that it can provide warmth and comfort to you. So on behalf of the Quilts of Valor Foundation and a grateful nation, with our deepest appreciation, we thank you for your service to our country with the Quilts of Valor. I have a certificate that I'm going to read for each one of you. Mr. Ivan, the Quilts of Valor Foundation wishes to recognize you for your service to our nation. We consider it a privilege to honor you, though we may never know the extent of your sacrifice and service to protect and defend the United States of America. As an expression of gratitude, we award you this Quilt of Valor. All right, and wrap it around him. Mr. Brady, I know that's you now. The Quilts of Valor Foundation wishes to recognize you for your service to our nation. We consider it a privilege to honor you, though we may never know the extent of your sacrifice and service to protect and defend the United States of America. As an expression of gratitude, we award you this Quilt of Valor.
I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Mr. Dan. The Quilts of Valor Foundation wishes to recognize you for your service to our nation. We consider it a privilege to honor you, though we may never know the extent of your sacrifice and service to protect and defend the United States of America. As an expression of gratitude, we award you this Quilt of Valor.
Thank you very much.
The Quilts of Valor Foundation wishes to recognize you for your service to our nation. We consider it a privilege to honor you, though we may never know the extent of your sacrifice and service to protect and defend the United States of America. As an expression of gratitude, we award you this Quilt of Valor.
Thank you.
The official Quilt of Valor on each quilt has, as you can see, the label there with his name, service, and years of service.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. Thank you. Thank you.
Always go to break. I'm just going to talk to you yet. No. Thank you.
Not a race, you know. You don't have to go fast.
Reunion, the success that we enjoy. The many shipmates who share the mementos and keepsakes so that we can place them on display for our reunions. The shipmates who donate raffle items, aiding in the organizational finances. Those who send stamps and donations for postage. Members of our submarine community who donate the flowers for the widows each year. And the members of the CHE1 community that provide the wreath for the memorial service each year. To all of you here tonight, thank you for making this A very successful reunion. Thank you for the service, your service, and your sacrifice. You mean so much to Manny and me, and it is this reunion that we look forward to every year. There are wooden ships, ironclad ships, and steel ships. But the best ship is a friendship. And Patty, I want to thank you for your friendship. You make this organization special. I hope you've enjoyed yourselves this weekend. Without you, there would be no reunion. We look forward to being together again this next year in the New England area. From 1776 to tomorrow, Bostons have been there and will continue to be there to defend our freedom and our liberty. Now please, after 2 long years, I don't want to see you run into your rooms, loosen your ties, walk around the room,
Come back.
make a new friend, and thank everybody you meet for coming to your reunion. And dance to the Swing Fever Dance Band as they provide music to all of us for the rest of the evening. Thank you all so very much. And as we proclaim quickly, we have a quilt to photo raffle ticket for. This is the one that you've been buying raffle tickets just for the quilt. So if we can ask Denise to again draw out a card, a raffle ticket. Also, afterwards, the photographer said if there are any special groups or couples or anything, tables that you want pictures taken with your friends, they will do that. Just see one of the photographers. I'd love to get one of all the Vietnam guys if we could meet in the back of the room and get a group picture of all the Vietnam guys. And the winning number for the quilt of the celebratory t-shirt quilt, I believe is what it's called, is 8394320. And the name on the back is Patty. And I don't know if that is officer or what. Patty is the winner of the... But your name is on it, my dear, and if you've got identification, you're a Patty. And please do not forget, because I know that was one of the 10 commandments or 12 commandments we did last night. You didn't write it down because you said you'll remember it. We all have to have masks tomorrow. If you're going on that tour, make sure you have a mask. We'll have some in each of the buses, but make sure you have your mask. Thank you again for such a wonderful evening.
I've got you under my skin, and I've got you deep in the heart of me, so deep in my heart that you're really a part of me, and I've got you under my skin, and I tried so not to give in.
Good afternoon.
That's working.
Good afternoon, shipmates and guests, and welcome aboard the Spirit of Philadelphia. If you had attended our previous reunions, then you know that it's customary at all of our reunions to put aside some time out of our busy schedule to remember our departed shipmates. Although these shipmates are not with us in body, they are here in spirit, and they will always be with us in our hearts. We will remember them for their laughter and their stories from reunions past, and especially for their love to their families, the USS Boston, and to their country. The wreath-laying ceremony has become a tradition at our reunions and affords us the opportunity to remember those shipmates that we miss so much and those that have served their country in peace and in war. Although we only have a small number of shipmates represented here today by family members, the laying of this wreath will honor all departed shipmates from all vessels named Boston. Our wreath bearers today will be Brenda Jones, wife of Malcolm Jones, 1966-1969, Nancy Lafreniere, wife of Roy Lafreniere, 1966-1968, Barbara Murphy, wife of Albert Murphy, 1965-1968, and Cindy Stancliffe, wife of Paul Stancliffe, 1966-1967. Assisting our wreath bearer today is Dennis Lafreniere, brother of Roy Lafreniere. This year, rather than throwing the wreath into the water, we will be placing it aboard the USS Olympia after the cruise. Because this is the 100th anniversary of the placement of the first unknown soldier, it will be placed on the spot where the World War I unknown soldier transport container was lashed to the deck, along with its Marine escort, Frederick Landry, as the transport container was too large to fit through the hatch of the USS Olympia. On its way back, it hit 2 hurricanes. On November 9th, 1921, due to bravery of all the men aboard, the ship safely arrived at the Washington Navy Yard, and ultimately the World War I soldier was interred at the tomb of the unknowns. Let us now lay this wreath as a remembrance of all of our departed shipmates from all vessels named Boston. If you would like, you may call out a name of a shipmate that has recently departed.
John Morgan.
Presley Starr.
Robert Knight.
Jim Coleman. Kenneth Lucier.
Al Spear. Thomas W. Miller.
Robert Morgan. Roger Hill.
Christopher David Carlson.
Bill Baker.
Bill Smith. Steve Proctor. Tom Serrard.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, please bless and keep all of our departed shipmates from all ships named Boston. And God, you alone, take into your gracious protection our nation's military and all who serve therein. Preserve them from the violence of the enemy. that they may be safeguarded into the United States of America. We pray that you will bless those men and women that are currently serving in the military for their unselfish service in the continual struggle to preserve our freedoms, our safety, and our country's heritage for all of us. Amen. With their memories still fresh in our hearts and minds, let us all carry on with our reunion as our shipmates would want us to do. I would like to thank the entire staff and crew of the Spirit of Philadelphia, and especially the bugler Brad Robinson, and from buglers across America for his assistance and participation in our memorial service. This concludes our memorial service. I hope you've enjoyed our reunion, and I hope that you have a safe trip home. If anyone is interested to read about the difficult journey home about the USS Olympia and the 2 hurricanes that it hit, it was in the Sea Power magazine or the Sea magazine that was in the museum. Thank you, and have fun at the rest of your reunion if you're still here. Bye-bye.